Ladies and gentlemen, there is a woman somewhere sitting in the quiet of her own company. No hands pulling at her sleeves, no voices drowning out her thoughts. She walks through the world like a whispered storm, silent, steady, and sure. She has tasted solitude, and in it she has found her power. A woman alone is not lonely. No, she is listening to the rhythm of her own heart, to the whispers of her own dreams. She is learning, growing, sharpening the edges of her mind like a blade that does not dull. They say a woman who always spends time alone is dangerous, and I say you are right. She is dangerous to those who would chain her spirit, who would silence her voice, who would shrink her brilliance into something small and acceptable. For when a woman learns to stand in her own presence, she does not beg for acceptance. She does not seek permission. She does not ask, may I? She knows she is enough. She knows she is whole. And that, my dear, is what shakes the world. So beware the woman who finds peace in her own company. She is the one who will move mountains with a whisper. She is the one who will break chains without lifting a finger. She is the one who will rise again and again until the world has no choice but to know her name. A woman alone is not weak. A woman alone is not lost. A woman alone is dangerous. And my, how beautiful that is. There is a woman somewhere sitting in the quiet of her own company. No hands pulling at her sleeves. No voices drowning out her thoughts. She walks through the world like a whispered storm, silent, steady, and sure. She has tasted solitude, and in it she has found her power. A woman alone is not lonely. No, she is listening to the rhythm of her own heart, to the whispers of her own dreams. She is learning, growing, sharpening the edges of her mind like a blade that does not dull. They say a woman who always spends time alone is dangerous. And I say you are right. She is dangerous to those who would chain her spirit, who would silence her voice, who would shrink her brilliance into something small and acceptable. For when a woman learns to stand in her own presence, she does not beg for acceptance. She does not seek permission. She does not ask, may I? She knows she is enough. She knows she is whole. And that, my dear, is what shakes the world. So beware the woman who finds peace in her own company. She is the one who will move mountains with a whisper. She is the one who will break chains without lifting a finger. She is the one who will rise again and again until the world has no choice but to know her name. A woman alone is not weak. A woman alone is not lost. A woman alone is dangerous. And my, how beautiful that there is something remarkable about a woman who is unafraid to sit with herself, to hear the sound of her own breath, to walk a path where no one else is leading the way. In a world that constantly tells her to be connected, to be dependent, to be surrounded by approval, she chooses instead the company of her own soul. And that is where her strength begins. She does not rush to fill the silence with empty noise. She does not reach out for hands that do not know how to hold her. She does not bow her head to the fear of being alone. Instead, she leans into the stillness, allowing it to teach her, allowing it to shape her. She watches the world move around her, but she is not desperate to be swept up in its current. She is not frantic to be seen, to be heard, to be validated. Because she knows deeply, unshackably, that she exists in her own right. She has spent enough time in solitude to understand that the most dangerous thing a woman can be is self-sufficient. She has learned to enjoy her own company, to find pleasure in the rhythm of her own thoughts. There is no desperation in her, no need to be completed because she already knows she is whole. The world calls her dangerous because she does not wait for permission to exist as she is. She does not ask, am I enough? Because she has already answered that question for herself. They tell her she must be lonely. They say a woman who is always alone must be sad, must be longing for something outside of herself. But they misunderstand the nature of solitude. They do not see the quiet power she is building within her. They do not recognize the way she is gathering herself piece by piece until she stands taller than before. They think she is fragile because she does not always seek the comfort of a crowd. But what they do not realize is that she is forging herself in the fire of her own thoughts, tempering her soul in the strength of her own spirit. There is a misconception that to be alone is to be weak, that to stand in the silence of one's own mind is to be incomplete. But she has unlearned that lie. She has sat in rooms where no one spoke her name, and still she knew her worth. She has walked paths where no one followed, and still she did not falter. She has faced moments where the world gave her nothing, and yet she found within herself everything she needed. She is dangerous because she does not look for saving. She does not wait for rescue. She does not need someone to tell her what she already knows about herself. She is dangerous because she has tasted loneliness and found it was not so bitter after all. She has learned to drink from her own cup, to nourish her own soul, to listen to the voice inside her that says, "You are enough." When a woman spends time alone, she learns the sound of her own thoughts. She learns to separate the voice of the world from the voice of her own soul. She becomes an expert at knowing what she needs, what she desires, what she will and will not tolerate. She no longer bends to fit the shape others expect of her. She no longer shrinks to make herself easier to carry. She has grown too big, too powerful, too certain of herself. And oh, how that unsettles those who wish to keep her small. A woman who always spends time alone is dangerous because she is not afraid of herself. She is not afraid of her own company. She does not seek validation from those who do not understand her worth. She does not hand over the key to her happiness, hoping someone else will unlock the door. She has already walked through it alone and found there was nothing to fear. There is something fierce about a woman who is not afraid to sit with herself. She is not afraid of her own reflection. She does not need distraction to avoid facing her truth. She looks at herself fully, deeply, without hesitation. She knows her faults, her scars, her fears, and still she loves herself. Still she chooses herself. Still she stands. That is why she is dangerous. Because she does not move through life with an empty heart, searching for something to complete her. She does not settle for less than she deserves out of fear of being alone. She does not cling to hands that do not hold her with care. She does not stay in places where her spirit is dimmed, where her voice is silenced, where her worth is questioned. No, she walks away. She walks away from anything that does not honor her soul. She walks away from anything that asks her to be less than she is. She walks away from people who do not see her, from places that do not nourish her, from situations that ask her to compromise her power. And she does it without hesitation because she has spent enough time alone to know that she would rather stand in her own light than sit in someone else's shadow. There is no fear in her solitude, only certainty, only peace, only a deep, unwavering understanding that she is enough, that she has always been enough, that she will always be enough. She is dangerous because she has nothing to prove. She is dangerous because she has already found what she was looking for within herself. She is dangerous because she does not wait for the world to give her permission to exist fully, loudly, unapologetically. There is something about a woman who walks with the knowledge that she does not need saving. She carries herself differently, as if the weight of the world does not rest on her shoulders, as if the approval of others is not the air she breathes. She moves through life with a quiet certainty, unshaken by the tides that try to pull her in directions she does not wish to go. She is not waiting for guidance, not searching for permission, not desperate for acceptance. And that is what unsettles those who wish to control her. They have always found comfort in the idea that she must rely on them, that she must look to them for direction, that she cannot stand on her own. They have built structures designed to keep her in place, told stories meant to convince her that her strength is best used in service to others, that her worth is determined by how well she follows, how obediently she listens, how willingly she conforms. They have written rules meant to keep her dependent, whispering warnings in her ear about the dangers of walking alone. But she does not listen. She has unlearned the lessons meant to keep her in line. She has seen through the illusions designed to convince her that she is not enough on her own. She has stepped outside the boundaries drawn for her and found that the world did not collapse when she took control of her own life. She has realized that her power does not come from their approval, that her strength is not tied to their acceptance, that her existence is not validated by their permission. And that terrifies them. Because the moment she stops depending on them, she becomes uncontrollable. She is no longer bound by their expectations, no longer shaped by their limitations, no longer defined by the roles they assigned her. She does not need to be chosen to feel valuable, does not need to be protected to feel safe, does not need to be led to know where she is going. She has learned to rely on ability to thrive, does not wait for their permission to take what she knows is hers. She moves through the world with a quiet certainty that unsettles those who have built their power on the belief that she must always need them. She challenges the systems designed to keep her in place simply by existing outside of them. She is not asking for freedom, she is taking it, and they cannot stand it, because for so long they have defined themselves by her dependence. They have built their confidence on the idea that she needs their guidance, their wisdom, their strength. They have wrapped their worth around the belief that without them, she would be lost. But now, as they watch her stand on her own, as they see her carve out without looking back, they are forced to face a truth they have tried to ignore. She was never weak. She was never incapable. She was never incomplete. She was simply told that she was. And now that she knows otherwise, there is no going back. She has no use for the false promises meant to keep her tethered. No patience for the warnings meant to instill fear. No interest in playing by the rules designed to keep her from realizing her full strength. She has tasted the power of standing on her own, and she will never again pretend to be helpless just to make others feel comfortable. They call her rebellious, difficult, ungrateful. They say she has changed, that she has forgotten her place, that she no longer respects the order of things. But what they really mean is that they can no longer control her. What they really fear is not her disobedience, but her independence. Because if she does not need them, then where does that leave them? If she can stand on her own, then what purpose do they serve? She has taken away their ability to define her. She has rewritten the narrative that once kept her bound. She has stepped into her own power, and in doing so, she has shattered the illusion that she was ever powerless to begin with. And that is why they fear her. There is a quiet strength in a woman who does not ask for more than she can give herself. She walks with a kind of confidence that does not need to be announced, does not need to be explained, does not need to be justified. She moves through the world with an ease that unsettles those who have come to expect dependency, those who have built their comfort around the idea that she must always be reaching for someone to hold her up. But she is not reaching, she is not waiting, she is not searching for anything outside of herself. And that more than anything disturbs them. They have long told her that she must be taken care of, that she must be looked after, watched over, guided in the right direction. They have spent years convincing her that her strength is not enough, that she is fragile without their support, that she must always be shown the same as someone to survive. They have written entire stories about her fragility, built entire systems around the idea that she cannot stand on her own. They have made it seem natural, necessary, expected that she should always lean on something else, that she should always need more than what she already has within her. But she has lived long enough to know that this is a lie. She has seen the way the world shifts when she refuses to depend on it. She has watched the way people react when they realize she is not waiting for someone to complete her, not searching for someone to give her purpose, not hoping for someone to show her the way. She has felt the discomfort in their voices, the unease in their eyes, the tension in their words when they recognize that she is whole on her own. It is not admiration they feel, it is fear, because she is not meant to be this way. She is meant to need them. She is meant to rely on their guidance, their approval, their direction. She is meant to look outside of herself for strength, meant to feel incomplete without their presence, meant to seek their validation before she moves forward. She is supposed to doubt herself, supposed to question whether she is capable, supposed to believe that she is only as strong as the hands that hold her. But she has broken free from that illusion. She has spent enough time alone to understand that she is capable of carrying herself. She has learned the rhythm of her own breath, the weight of her own power, the force of her own presence. She has stopped asking for permission to take up space, stopped waiting for approval to speak, stopped seeking affirmation to believe in herself. She does not need to be saved, does not need to be carried, does not need to be told who she is. And that is what unsettles them. Because when a woman does not need, she cannot be manipulated. When she does not ask, she cannot be denied. When she does not depend, she cannot be controlled. And that is the greatest fear of those who have spent so long convincing her that she was never meant to be independent. She sees it in the way they react to her confidence. They do not celebrate it, they question it. They do not admire it, they challenge it. They do not respect it, they resist it. They do. They do not understand how she can be so sure of herself without someone telling her she is worthy. They do not know what to do with a woman who does not hesitate, does not falter, does not shrink. They are not used to seeing her this way. And so they call her names. They say she is arrogant. They say she is cold. They say she is selfish, difficult, impossible to love. They accuse her of thinking too highly of herself, of pushing too hard, of being too unwilling to bend. They tell her that she will regret it, that she will one day see the error of her ways, that she will understand too late that no one can make it alone. They say these things not because they are true, but because they need them to be true. They need to believe that she will fail, need to believe that she will come back, need to believe that she will eventually realize that she cannot exist outside of their approval. But she will not, because she has already seen the truth. She has already stood in her own presence and found it was enough. She has already moved forward without permission and found that nothing stood in her way. She has already stepped into her power and found that it did not falter when no one was there to hold her up. She has already freed herself from the fear they tried to place in her. And now they are the ones who are afraid. There is something unmistakable about a woman who moves through life as if she belongs wherever she stands. She does not hesitate when she enters a room. She does not ask if she is allowed to be there. She does not wait for a nod of approval before she speaks. She does not shrink herself to fit the comfort of others, nor does she apologize for the space she takes up. She knows with a certainty that shakes the ground beneath her feet that she does not need to ask for what is already hers, and that unsettles people. They have spent generations teaching women to ask first, to wait, to be cautious, to seek validation before they step forward. They have convinced her that she must first be accepted before she can exist fully. They have placed invisible barriers around her, whispering in her ear that boldness is unbecoming, that certainty is arrogance, that strength is a threat. They have designed entire systems around her hesitation, expecting that she will always second-guess herself, that she will always soften her voice, that she will always look for permission before she takes what is hers. But she is not looking for permission. She has unlearned the hesitation they tried to instill in her. She has discarded the idea that her worth must be determined by someone else. She does not wait to be chosen. She does not ask, "May I?" She does not lower her gaze when she speaks, does not lessen her presence to make others feel bigger, does not dilute her power to make it easier to swallow. She does not beg for a place at the table because she has realized she is capable of building her own. She does not move through life asking for things that are her birthright. She does not seek approval to dream, to rise, to claim what she knows is already within her reach. She does not perform humility to make herself more palatable. She does not dress her confidence in apology. She does not play small so others can feel large. She moves with intention, with certainty, with a quiet force that makes people listen even when they do not want to, and that makes them uncomfortable. Because they are used to women who wait. They are used to women who soften themselves, who hesitate before they speak, who tread lightly so as not to disrupt the order of things. They are used to women who seek permission, not women who take up space without apology. They are used to women who ask, not women who command. And so they call her difficult. They call her intimidating. They say she is too much, too loud, too strong. They say she should tone it down, that she should wait her turn, that she should ask before she moves. They try to shame her into submission, try to break her confidence, try to convince her that her certainty is a flaw. But she does not bend because she has already spent too much time waiting. She has already spent too many years asking. She has already spent too much of herself seeking permission that was never theirs to give in the first place. She has already stepped into her own power, and there is no force in the world that can make her step back. She has no interest in being liked. She does not need to be accepted. She is not waiting to be invited into spaces where she has every right to stand. She does not demand respect, she commands it. And there is nothing more powerful than that. There is something undeniable about a woman who moves through life with a force that cannot be ignored. She does not ask if the world is ready for her. She does not wonder whether she is too much, too bold, too powerful. She does not wait for permission to be as she is. She simply rises again and again, refusing to be anything less than what she was meant to be. And the world takes notice because when a woman embraces her strength, something shifts. The ground beneath her feet is no longer the same. The space she enters is no longer untouched by her presence. The people around her can feel it, the weight of her certainty, the steadiness of her voice, the quiet power in her every movement. It unsettles some, inspires others, and demands that all who witness it make a choice. They can resist the change she brings, or they can rise with her. She was never meant to go unnoticed. She was never meant to be silent. She was never meant to blend in with the crowd, to move in the same direction as everyone else, to follow the well-worn path just because it was the easier road to take. No, she was meant to carve something new, something different, something that did not exist before she decided to create it. She was meant to shake the foundations that were built to keep her in place. She was meant to challenge the rules that were designed to limit her reach. She was meant to push against the walls that were meant to contain her, not because she seeks rebellion for rebellion's sake, but because she knows she was never meant to live within walls at all. And that is why she cannot help but change the world around her. She does not move through life without leaving something behind. She plants seeds in the minds of those who watch her. She awakens possibilities in the hearts of those who have been told they must stay small. She walks into spaces where people have been told they do not belong, and simply by existing there, she makes it possible for others to follow. She carries within her a fire that refuses to be extinguished, and that fire catches wherever she goes, lighting the way for those who have spent too long in darkness. She is proof of what is possible. She is evidence that strength is not a threat, but a gift. That power is not something to fear, but something to embrace. She shows others that they too are allowed to stand tall, to speak loudly, to take up space. She makes it clear that they do not need to wait for permission, do not need to ask for acceptance, do not need to shrink to make themselves easier to love. She gives them a glimpse of what life looks like when lived without apology, and once they have seen it, they cannot unsee it. And so the world begins to shift. At first, the changes are small. A quiet voice that once hesitated now speaks with certainty. A timid step that once wavered now walks with purpose. A person who once believed they could never break free now reaches for something they never thought possible. But change, no matter how small, spreads, it ripples outward, growing larger, gaining momentum, refusing to be contained. And before long, what was once unimaginable becomes inevitable. It is no accident that those who seek to maintain control fear a woman who understands her own strength. They know that she is not just one person moving through the world on her own. They know that with every step she takes, she pulls others with her. They know that her confidence will awaken something in those who have been made to doubt themselves. They know that her courage will make others question their fear. They know that if she is allowed to rise, she will not rise alone. And that is why they try to stop her. They tell her she is selfish for thinking she can choose her own path. They call her reckless for refusing to follow the rules that were set for her. They accuse her of being difficult, ungrateful, impossible to satisfy. They try to isolate her, to make her believe she is the only one who feels this way, the only one who dreams of something more, the only one who refuses to settle. But she is not alone. She has never been alone. Because somewhere, someone is watching her. Somewhere, someone who has been told to stay quiet is seeing her speak, and they are beginning to wonder if they, too, have something worth saying. Somewhere, someone who has been told to stay put is watching her move forward, and they are beginning to ask themselves if they, too, are capable of more. Somewhere, someone who has been told to dim their light is seeing her shine, and they are realizing that they do not have to live in the shadows any longer. This is the power of a woman who embraces her own strength. She does not just change herself, she changes everything. She shifts perspectives. She challenges traditions. She forces people to rethink what they have always believed to be true. She does not just make space for herself, she creates space for others. She does not just open doors, she tears them from their hinges so that no one else will ever have to knock. She does not just fight for her own freedom, she fights for a world where freedom is no longer something that must be fought for at all. And once she has set these changes in motion, there is no stopping them. They will try, of course. They will push back against her. They will resist the transformation she brings. They will cling to the way things have always been, hoping that if they fight hard enough, they can undo what she has done. But the truth is, once people have seen what is possible, they will never again accept what is not. Once they have tasted strength, they will never again swallow weakness. Once they have stepped into their own power, they will never again give it away. She may not always see the impact she has. She may not always know the names of those she has inspired. She may not always witness the ways in which her presence has changed the lives of others. But make no mistake, she has. Because strength does not go unnoticed. True power does not go unfelt. True change does not happen in silence. And she, in all her fearless, unstoppable, undeniable brilliance, is the very definition of change.